Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Senior citizens flocked to the Araneta Coliseum to receive their COVID-19 vaccines yesterday. But some left disappointed and empty-handed as they did not receive the much-awaited jabs because they failed to book a schedule online. JC Cosico with the story.
As Quezon City opened its mega vaccination site in Araneta Coliseum on Saturday, some senior citizens were dismayed after being not immediately accommodated for vaccination.
Sabi kasi ng barangay, yun ang ngasiwa doon, pumunta kayo ng Araneta Coliseum kasi dito yung mass vaccine.
Okay.
Ay maaga naman kami. Ang problema, ang pinapriority na yung online.
Sinabi sa amin, mag-try kayo doon mag-walk-in. Magdadalawang buwan, naghihintay kami. Walang text, walang message, walang call. Kaya sabi namin, mag-try kami kasi nabalitaan namin kahapon, mega vaccination ang Araneta.
Only those who booked online and with confirmed schedules received the Astrazeneca jabs in the Big Dome. But some had a hard time in online booking, like Juanitos who went to Araneta in hopes of getting vaccinated. Luckily, he received the jab after there were some vaccinees who did not pass the qualifications.
Pinakita ko sa inyo yung easy consult
Tapos?
na hindi tumatakbo.
Tapos, ano bang sabi nila?
Kinausap nila yung supervisor at sabi nga is i-consider.
Meanwhile, some vaccinees easily got their jabs like Angelina. She said that the vaccines will be a big help to her as she has diabetes and hypertension.
Ay, mga nurse ang mga anak ko, ka-COVID ward nga yung mga anak ko. Nakakatakot magka-COVID eh. Kaya yun, kaya nagpa-inject agad ako.
Quezon City Vax-Normal co-chair Joseph Uwico says walk-ins are not allowed as they have only allotted 1,000 AstraZeneca doses for the day. The LGU also talked to senior citizens who walked in and waited outside the Big Dome.
Sa ngayon po, it would be very difficult for you to walk in kasi lahat po ng mga tao nandito nakaschedule po sila. Kaya nga po, nandito po si Dr. Wong, kukunin niya po yung mga pangalan ninyo para ma-schedule namin din kayo sa ibang lugar na pwede kayong tanggapin.
The COVID-19 vaccination site in Araneta Coliseum will last until May 21 depending on supplies and manpower. According to latest data, QC has vaccinated over 150,000 vaccinees, still far from their 1.7 million target to achieve herd immunity. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
President Duterte signs 2 new executive orders modifying the rates of import duties on pork products and rice. EO 135 temporarily reduces the most favored nation tariff rates on imported rice to 35% from 40% for in-quota imports and 50% for out-quota imports. Meanwhile, EO 134 further modifies the most favored nation tariff rates on imported pork products. Tariff on pork products under the minimum access volume would be 10% for the first 3 months and 15% in the next 9 months. While tariff for pork imports outside minimum access volume would be 20% for the first 3 months and 25% in the succeeding months. The new rates were the result of a compromise between the country's economic managers and senators who had raised local hog raisers' concerns about the tariffs set in EO 128 issued last month. Now, here are other stories we're following across the nation. 2 Metro Manila mayors assured the public that the AstraZeneca vaccines would be consumed long before they expire in June and July. In an interview with One News, the chiefs, Navotas City Mayor Toby Tiangco said they will administer all their AstraZeneca doses in 12 days, so the supply will not even reach June. For his part, Taguig City Mayor Lino Cayetano branded the reports on the vaccine's expiration as insensitive and nonsense. Cayetano said they can give the AstraZeneca shots to Taguig City residents in 7 days. The Rapu-Rapu town in Albay was plunged into darkness yesterday as energy contractors shut down generators set supplying electricity to households on the island. Albay Power and Energy Corporation, or APEC, confirmed that shut down the power at around noon due to unpaid bills of the consumers amounting to 32 million pesos. According to its spokesperson, APEC asked Rapu-Rapu consumers to settle at least 15 million pesos of their outstanding bills until Friday to prevent the shutdown, but only 65 consumers heeded the warning. Meanwhile, only 658 out of the 1,700 registered power consumers had paid their bills either fully or partially. Albay Public Safety and Emergency Management Office Chief Cedric Daep says affected residents are expected to use generators or solar panels for their electricity needs, while DepEd Bicol spokesperson Mayflor Humamil says they will consult partner agencies regarding the power supply of 36 public elementary and 7 secondary schools in the island. The truck ban in Metro Manila will resume tomorrow after NCR was placed under GCQ for the rest of the month. MMDA announced that trucks will be banned in all major thoroughfares of Metro Manila from Monday to Friday from 6 in the morning till 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Along EDSA, trucks will be totally banned from the Magallanes interchange to North Avenue in Quezon City. But trucks that carry perishables and agriculture produce are exempted from the ban. Meanwhile, Makati City resumed implementation of its modified number coding scheme. This will run every weekday except holidays. As the Metro relaxes quarantine restrictions, the walled city of Intramuros is set to open two of its most popular sites to visitors starting tomorrow. According to the Tourism Department, Fort Santiago and Baluarte de San Diego will be open for a limited capacity with shortened operating hours under strict health and safety guidelines. Fort Santiago will accommodate only 200 visitors from 9 in the morning, with last entry for visitors at 6:30 p.m., while the Baluarte de San Diego will be open from 8 in the morning till 5 p.m. and will accommodate only up to 100 persons at a time. Both figures are below 30% threshold for tourist attractions as set by the IATF guidelines, but are deemed essential to ensure monitoring of proper protocols. Other Intramuros sites are still off limits to visitors. And we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Here are some of the biggest stories we're following around the world. In India, authorities found bodies of COVID-19 victims dumped in the rivers as the country is reeling under the world's worst surge of COVID-19 cases. According to a senior state official of northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, the lack of funds to buy materials like firewood, religious beliefs, and fear of the disease were among the reasons for the surge in body dumpings. Reuters reports that at least 10 to 20 bodies are recovered from rivers each now and then. Currently, India reports an average COVID-19 death toll of 4,000 per day, but health experts say the toll is likely much higher due to poor testing in rural areas and other factors. Trinidad and Tobago will be placed at a state of emergency due to increase in COVID-19 cases and deaths. A curfew will also be imposed from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. with exceptions for essential services. Prime Minister Rolly Island said that the Twin Island state was experiencing a third wave of COVID-19. With a population of over 1.3 million, Trinidad and Tobago registered more than 15,000 COVID-19 cases. Around 5,200 of them are active. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will continue to strike Gaza as long as necessary, but he also vowed to do their best to avoid civilian casualties. Netanyahu blames Hamas' week-long failed attempts at firing rockets at Israel for their current offensive. In an address, he says Hamas should bear the guilt of 145 reported Palestinian casualties, most of whom are civilians. Now, as one of the worst hit business during the pandemic, Disney is looking to serve as a barometer of how the economy reopens. Let's get more details from this report from Bloomberg.
Disney's business model was a prime example of what was worst hit by the pandemic. Movies, cruises, theme parks, sports, all shut down, affecting thousands of jobs.
Tourism industry in Central Florida is what makes up the bulk of the business there. And so it is an absolute, it really is a tragedy for thousands of workers and thousands of Floridians that are in desperate need of help and that are unable to find work.
Though it wasn't all bad, for the company at least. Disney Plus. It took off as people stuck at home turned to television for entertainment.
We're incredibly proud of how much our stories have been embraced by people around the world. 95% of the population in 12 of our top global markets engaged with our content over the past year alone.
While it has been a long year for the company, going from cutting 28,000 theme park jobs to a major executive reorganization, things are starting to look up. The happiest place on earth is now open, and vaccinations are helping to ease concerns about the pandemic.
We're thrilled with the response that we're seeing from our guests in terms of future reservations and intent to come back to our parks.
This pent-up demand being seen not only at Disney, but across the leisure and hospitality landscape.
Summer's going to be busy for sure. I mean, there are places certainly around the U.S. that are virtually sold out at this point.
Disney is set to report earnings, and the results, plus their forecasts, will be a glimpse into people's desire to re-enter the slowly reopening economy.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later again at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.